Welcome to Ask the Expert, a web series designed to provide you with practical information on finance and business. I am your host, Nicole Pride, and co-hosting with me today is the Reverend Dr. DeForest B. Soaries Jr., our fearless founder and leader of the D-Free movement, who Dr. Soaries started this bold initiative a few decades ago, and it is still going strong. So today we are so delighted to have all the way from Ghana, Michael Marmon-Halm. Michael is the managing director of Fair Athlete that produces premium chocolate products. And the company describes itself as the new kid on the block. Unlike their competitors, Fair Athlete has a strong commitment to their employees and the land. Their workers can live a life with dignity and the land is not depleted in the process. So they handle the entire production of their products in-house, from the cocoa tree, which is in their backyard, all the way through the production of their packaged premium chocolate bars. So everything is done in Ghana. So they are truly changing the game in their industry. So we're happy to have Michael today talk about that with us.
Well, Nicole, let me tell you why this is such an exciting moment for me. My first visit to Ghana included a tour of a cocoa research facility. And it was a facility that had been there for years. And much to my chagrin, what I learned was that the cocoa was grown in Ghana. And then once the cocoa beans were mature, they left Ghana. And so they went places like Switzerland. You know, the Swiss are known for chocolate. When I was in Switzerland, everybody said, you got to get chocolate. Unbeknownst to me, the chocolate started in Ghana. So Ghanaians literally had the cocoa beans, but had to buy the chocolate from Switzerland and other places because they didn't have what Michael is here to discuss today. And so when we talk about African development and we talk about Africa for Africans, you know, after all of the philosophy and the romantic slogans are done, whether you're in West Africa or Southern Africa, the fact is only people like Michael can really change the landscape in Africa for Africans. And so I'm honored to be here. I couldn't resist coming today to be with you with this outstanding guest. So Michael, welcome to Ask the Expert. As Nicole said, we are focused with great precision on helping all people, but specifically Black people, understand what the process is for financial success, what the opportunities are for financial success, and not only in the US, but throughout the African diaspora. So welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm really honored to be part of this discussion and yeah, looking forward to the highlights.
Good, good, good. So let's start with you, Michael. I'm sure Nicole wants to know all about you as a person. Before we get into cocoa beans and chocolate, I think we want to know about Michael.
Well, I am very young and you would realize that I have, and I had mentioned a few gray strands. I think that came with the business. But yeah, I've been within the cocoa industry for up to about 15 years. I think my qualifications have been studying chemistry in my first degree, and then also furthering my education in food quality management, and then finding myself doing all sorts of things that have given me the necessary skill to bring me up to this point. I come from a family, a very quiet family. And if you know a bit about the tribes in Ghana, I belong to a tribe called the Gans. We are usually found along the coastal lines, and we are usually depicted as the people that had good interaction with the colonial masters. And so if you see 10 Gans, 5 of them or 7 of them would have strange surnames that do not sound African, just like my name, Marmon-Halm. And so, yeah, our family is very small, and myself, my siblings, we are three, all boys, no girl, unfortunately. And then I'm the second of the three boys. And so I've grown up to also start my own family. I have two little boys, Mitchell and Miguel, 6 and 3. And I'm married to my childhood girlfriend, Audrey. And we've known each other for over 18 years now. So this is what I've been doing outside producing chocolate.
Thank you for that. So it's so interesting that you've been in the industry so long. How did you get introduced into the business?
Well, I would say that after university education, usually in Ghana, we have a 1-year period after tertiary education called the National Service Period. And this is where you're supposed to work for the government, just to say thank you to the government technically for helping you pay part of your bills during your tertiary education. And so I had found myself within the standards community. So I was posted to the government standard organization called Ghana Standards Authority. And whilst there, my now wife, who was then my girlfriend, was within the cocoa space. So she was working in a company that processed cocoa beans into semi-finished product, cocoa liquor, cocoa butter, and cocoa cake. And after national service, obviously, we usually would have to go through the struggle of finding employment. And sometimes it can be ridiculous within the government sector. And so, although we had performed wonderfully well during our service period, we were not retained. And so we had become unemployed graduates. And so my wife spoke to the managing director of her company and said, hey, I have this boyfriend who's looking for a job. Could you really help us? We need to marry, but we need money on the table. So yeah, I think I went through interviews 6 times, just also to understand that to reduce any element of conflict of interest and whether or not I can really do the job. And so, yeah, he bought the story and gave me the opportunity to work with the company. And that's how I jumped onto the cocoa wagon. Yeah. So I have a lot of credits to give to both himself and my wife.
So it seems like you had a job working inside a cocoa company, and now you own your own cocoa company. It's easy to say, but I'm sure it's hard to do. So
Yeah.
describe that process. I mean, how did you go from an employee to an owner?
I would say that perhaps I was one of the very few people who had the opportunity whilst working within that cocoa space to move through all the departments set up in the manufacturing space. So I started off within the quality assurance, quality control unit, and then soon found myself within the logistics supply chain arrangement. And then I found myself into sales. I found myself into customer relations, and then finally into production. I would say that I was confused when all this was happening. And I felt at some point my employer was derailing me from what I really wanted to do, for sure. And we've had multiple fights where I'd really expressed how disappointed I was because I read chemistry and it's becoming more difficult to think of a channel to develop. And because I'm finding myself virtually in everything, unknown to me, this is exactly what I needed in terms of today running this business. A little bit of quality, a little bit of production, a little bit of technical knowledge, a little bit of customer service, sales, marketing, and accounts. And so, yes, I think that I have just been lucky, so to say, on one point where nature positions you in this kind of path. But obviously, the chunk of the work also would come from you seeing the opportunity and taking advantage of these opportunities. Because yes, you could be served gold on a plate, but you may not realize it's gold. You may think it's also another just shining stone. And so it's a combination of both, trying to take advantage of the opportunity that was served in the midst of all that frustration and coming out one day to say, let me start something on my own. And I think that's how far I've come.
Nicole, this is very familiar because almost everyone that I know who has had tremendous success as an owner can point back to jobs they had and they couldn't figure out why they were doing that job.
Mm.
That
Mhm.
a real owner is someone who has to know not only the product, but know the process.
Right.
And what Michael describes is not unique to cocoa in Ghana, but it's really universal truth that sometimes you spend years developing who you are going to become by doing tasks that seem to be irrelevant to who you are. So it's just wonderful, Michael. I'm thanks for telling us that.
And being educated in every part of the process so that you can effectively run your business. So tell us, how is it that you can enter into a competitive market like the chocolate industry in Ghana? Can you just give us a little context about how big the industry is and how did you make an entryway into the market?
Right. So the market in itself, in terms of its segregation between raw material and value created products, is huge. Either way, it's very huge. And Ghana, knowing very well that Ghana produces or is the second largest producer of cocoa and the very best when it comes to premium cocoa, already sets the ball rolling. And I think I realized that coupled with what the government of the day had initiated in terms of value creation in Ghana and trying to change the whole status quo of having always to ship the beans in its raw state to Europe, the drive to continue this legacy, already started by some other companies, was much. It was actually pronounced, especially in 2018, 2019, when I felt in my old job that I had reached a point where I didn't expect anything new to happen. And so something that had started as a bit of a frustration throughout the entire learning period and having to come to terms that what do you want to do for the next 10 to 15 years with your life, with your education, and with your experience, drove me to enter the space. And I would say that Fair Afrique is number 3 in terms of the length of stay for chocolate making companies. The first I described is the government chocolate making company called Golden Tree CPC. We call them popularly cocoa processing company. And then the second is a privately owned Ghanaian company also called Niche. And then Fair Afrique coming up as number 3 in terms of capacity. I would say that we are rubbing shoulder to shoulder among all 3 companies. And I would say what makes us totally different is for 3 reasons, maybe 4. One being that we are the only ones who are producing organic chocolate. That's totally new. Nobody's doing this on a commercial scale here in Ghana. And then we are the only ones who are also combining renewable energy whilst practicing this and producing without destroying the environment. For example, we are not using aluminum foil, which hurts the environment. We are using 100% biodegradable packaging materials throughout the entire process. And then we are the last persons who are producing chocolate in Ghana. Perhaps it's very familiar in Europe, but here in Ghana, all the ones who are producing chocolate are doing flavored chocolate. So you have mango flavored chocolate, you have pineapple flavored chocolate. But for us, we are doing chocolate with real inclusions. So you have the hazelnuts, the tiger nuts, the almonds, the baobab, the moringa in your chocolate for real and not just essence of flavor. And yes, it's been highly competitive because here in Ghana, both companies that came before us have secured that market share. Like people really feel attracted to these already products existing in the market. Like Golden Tree enjoys fair distribution of the market because then it was started by our first president. And so people are really loyal to the brand. Although I think in terms of taste, well, you have to taste for you to be very sure whether we are better. Yeah, not that I know we are very better. And then with the second production, the products, niche products, yeah, people then began to enjoy variety. So, there was the loyalty part and then there's the variety part. And then Fair Afrique pops up trying to find its own direction within these 2 giants. So it hasn't come really easy. It's been very difficult. And usually I'm telling people when I'm asked, what was the motivation to do this? I say, look, you've got to be crazy to be able to take your bag, leave your stable job, and say, I'm coming to the rural community to start something by myself. And this is what we've done, myself and my team members.
Well, I think the timing was really good. Nana Addo, when he first became president, described his commitment, among other things, to have a factory in every district. And I think your timing was fortuitous. But I can hear your chemistry background. Now, understand, I did so poorly in biology in school, I refused to take chemistry. It was just the science, and I just didn't get along. But I can hear your chemistry background factoring in, with this whole concept of organic chocolate as opposed to other kinds of chocolate, and even the biodegradable materials that you're using. All of that really speaks to having a strong chemistry background. But the two challenges we have, whether you're in Ghana or whether you're in the US, wherever you are, the two big challenges, and I want to know how you address those challenges, and then I'll let Nicole ask the rest of the questions. Challenge number one is access to capital. Because if you don't have capital, then you can't pay your employees, you can't develop your products. You need capital before you start making capital. It takes money to make money. And then the second is marketing. People have to know that you're there. So can you talk about your challenge, how you're addressing the challenge of accessing capital sufficient to do your business? And then what kind of marketing strategies are you using to make sure people know that you exist?
Right, and you're very right. I think Fair Africa has been blessed with the luxury of problems, and access to capital is something that keeps showing its face around the corner here and there. Yeah, when we wanted to start the whole project, I would give an example that I usually am doing to tell a very, very great story on belief and trust. Even the local markets didn't think that, like the local commercial banks didn't think that this was going to be possible. And by risk assessment, they had totally ruled us out. Like this proof of concept didn't even exist. And so even with high rates, interest rates soaring up to about 35%, these people just didn't want to do it. And so what we did was to first look internal and raise funds internal. And this had happened from the first round of chocolate bars that we had produced when we didn't even have our own factory, and we had saved for this project. And then the second round of funds that we did to augment what we already had was to go crowdfunding. And this is very common in Europe. And the storyline that helps drive the activity of crowdfunding was amazing. Like people really took this very serious. They looked at what we had said we're going to do. They had evaluated and done their own background checks and had believed in the story that we had pushed across, and were happy to put money in exchange for chocolate bars once the factory started running. And so we had some support from these crowdfunding activities. And then the last one, both the Ghanaian government, especially with the current president pushing for value creation, they had this development program with Germany and some other European countries. They call it the Africa Compact Connect program, where Germany was looking at committing funds into development in Africa and Ghana particularly. And so we had pitched the idea of building a chocolate factory in Ghana. And by that storyline, DEG, which is the German development arm of the government in Germany for social developments like this, took interest in the project and put some money on the table. So these were three areas that we came through in terms of access to funds. Well, with the marketing aspect of it, yes.
Can I just ask? I don't want to gloss over that because that's pretty important, right? So the areas were crowdfunding. And was that a grant from Germany, that program?
Yes.
That was a grant. You did not have to pay that back.
No, sorry, you are paying
Oh,
back. It's a soft loan that
soft
helps
loan.
pay back. So yes, yeah, that's it.
Okay. And then you raise funds on your own in addition to crowdfunding?
Yes. So
Yes.
you have internal funds that you have saved, like everybody bringing money on the table, and then
Yeah.
everybody from products that we have sold in the past. And then you have the German government helping out. And then you also did the crowdfunding. So these three helped us to start the business.
Got it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great.
Mhm.
And so with the marketing, yes, we realized that for Africa and for Ghana, it's a growing appetite for chocolate. If we're going to produce and use our capacity that we have currently, that's 10,000 bars of chocolate every hour. Obviously, we would have a lot of work to do trying to sell this within Ghana and in Africa for starters. Why don't we start within the community that's very familiar with chocolates already? And this is Europe. And so with the registration of our company being a free zones enterprise, and I can explain what a free zones enterprise means, we were urged or encouraged to ship up to 70% of our products to Europe. And with the liberty of selling 30% in Ghana, we could gradually develop the appetite for chocolates and cocoa products in Africa and in Ghana. So our market drivers is actually within Europe. We have been able to sell in 26 European countries so far. And locally, we are also selling and beginning to look outside of Ghana, but still within Africa. So we have taken products to South Africa, undergoing trials. We have also done similar in Nigeria and Cote d'Ivoire. So this is how we've played out with the market penetration activities as well. But yes, dominantly selling in Europe has been the game changer for a local company like us.
The one thing that I hear as a repetitive theme is just innovation, 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 innovation in terms of your product line, the way that you're doing business, which is not the norm, it sounds like. I think you said that, or you're on your website, it says that your mission is to create 10,000 climate-friendly jobs in Africa, and that you have this strong commitment to sustainable development. And you talk about no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth, industry, innovation and infrastructure, and climate action. Tell me, like, these sound like very new concepts. I think these are like concepts that are still new to some businesses here in the States. So has that been well received? And how is it that you come up with innovation? Do you dedicate time as part of your process to think about new ways that you're going to grow and push your business?
That's right. And you got it right and spot on. Obviously, we've received these remarks, and then an hour to this meeting, I hosted some local commercial banks who wanted to support us in one way or the other in our operations. And when they had sent the email hoping to meet the managing director, and I appeared in the conference room, I think I saw on their faces they were a bit disappointed, because then they were looking forward to a big figure, perhaps Potbelly, and an old gentleman. And so the first remark she mentioned was, I think this company seems to have very, very young people. And that's not normal for a manufacturing industry. I said, oh, yeah, that's true. Did you also make another observation that is not normal? And then she spoke about our solar panels. And then she also spoke about the number of women that she had seen so far when she came here. And if you are very familiar with how the industry plays out in Africa and Ghana, you realize that the female gender is always on the reserve side when it comes to things like this. But as a company, we have pushed ourselves to create women participation on purpose, because then we want to change the narrative. We have forgone bad manufacturing practices and adapted new ways of doing business, ethical sourcing, for example, accountability and transparency. Like one of the basic physical facilities where you have glass overlooking into the production floor because we want to show you how we do the chocolate. This is not normal. Most people would not share even their machine setup or process setup with you. You are not allowed to even take pictures if you find yourself on the production floor. But these are some of the things that we've realized that they are not correct, or let me say they are not proper. And if you really, really want to change this, because when we sell a bar of chocolate, when you buy a bar of chocolate, yes, there's a portion that is attributed to the taste, but there's a larger portion that is serving greater humanity. We find ourselves in a 2.4 acre land in a forest region. And guess what? We are the first persons to bring fiber internet connectivity to this part of town. Imagine
Yes, you are.
Imagine.
Listen, I've been there, and I'm a witness. I'm involved with the Achamabuakwa Traditional Council, and over at the Eco Park, which is not far from you. So I am a witness that bringing fiber to that area is revolutionary. And by the way, I bring groups to Ghana every year, at least once a year. And based on this conversation and my knowledge of what you're doing, we will make sure your business is one of the stops that we make, because we go to the park because, my horses are there. So we have to go there. And you're not far from the park. We will make sure that the people that we bring to Ghana are exposed. I can't wait to see your facility myself. How many employees do you have?
We started very small with just myself, and then we went to 4, 26, and now I can say we are 95.
Wow.
Wow.
Fast growth.
Yeah.
How do you manage fast growth? No growth can kill a business, and fast growth can kill a business. What is your strategy for making sure you grow, but you grow in a manageable way?
I would give good credit to what I saw practiced in my former company and taking advantage of what seemed to have been lapses within the previous organization I worked with and putting in measures to make sure things like this never happened. And so the anticipated growth rate was really thought through and prepared for. So, for example, knowing very well that, well, if you run a team, a local team, and manufacturing and making sure that quality is top notch, you have to take control over certain internal processes. For example, we are doing our own laundry in-house. We are not outsourcing laundry services, and there's a reason behind it because of risk management of cross-contamination. We are also doing even kitchen services by ourselves here, because a sick employee staff, like sick staff, means no job, like zero work, zero profits, zero impact. So instead of trying to get food from outside, we are encouraged to prepare our own food within the environment where we work, so that we can manage these kind of. So quick growth indeed can really kill. And if you're not really prepared for this, it would be a shocker, especially within this economic crisis where inflation is all skyrocketing. But I think that what we have seen, or what I have seen in my greater life within my previous company, and looking at how to tie the loose ends, has been the solution so far.
Well, listen, I think you display all of the intellectual and character ingredients for success. And I just can't tell you how inspired I am. I'm telling you, the first time I went to Ghana, I was baffled, because Ghana has gold, Ghana has silver, Ghana has bauxite, Ghana has shea butter, Ghana has cocoa, Ghana has all of these natural resources, as do other African nations, sub-Saharan countries. But produced nothing. Even the oranges in Ghana had to be exported to be processed into orange juice. And so I'm just so thrilled to know that you're doing what you're doing. I'm honored to know who you are and be connected. And Nicole, thank you so much for this opportunity to share this space with you, with this young genius from Ghana.
He is a genius. So before we end our conversation, do you want to leave us with what's next for Ferafi? What plans do you have that you'd like to share with us?
Right. This year, we realized that apart from producing chocolate bars, lovely chocolate bars, Ghana is usually known for just like Doc said, cocoa, gold, and other stuff. But we realized that every time we speak about tourism, we are usually bringing all these visitors and visiting just forts and castles.
Right.
Sorry to say, Ghana is not known for castles. No. And so we started this educational tourism where we are connecting farm activities, cocoa farm activities, to chocolate making processes for chocolate lovers to go through because most chocolate lovers, unfortunately, have not even seen cocoa farms, how they look like, how it's done there. And so we started this educational program where we are bringing chocolate lovers to go through the farm experience, see for themselves what happens on the farm, come to the chocolate factory, see it for themselves, and if they are lucky, even have ingredients to make their own chocolate and taste it and tell me how it tastes like.
That is excellent.
This has been a game changer for us. When we started, and we've already hosted more than 500 people coming to the factory just to see how it's done.
Excellent.
And so the future for Fair Africa is brighter and brighter. We want to go deeper into exploring all the avenues to create value in Africa whilst changing the status quo, the economic situation of farmers and the community we find ourselves in. So don't be surprised if you find your next Fair Africa coming from another cocoa producing country in Africa. Don't be too surprised.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, they need you in Liberia. I can tell you that now. I've been to Liberia. They've got more land than they know what to do with, and that's right up the street from Ghana. So
Yeah.
I'll be watching. What is your website that people can go to learn more about your company?
Yeah, it's www.fairafric.com, and you have the options to change languages. But yeah, spend good time understanding the brand and what we stand for in terms of true value, true social impact, and support a cause.
Great.
Support a worthy cause.
Great. Well, I'll see you in a few weeks. I'll be in the region within the next month or so. And I am absolutely promising you that I'm coming to see Fair Africa in person, live and living color.
Yeah, perfect.
Thank you. Thank you, Nicole.
Yes, thank you.